If you've ever felt a chill on your shoulder, or found yourself overwhelmed with emotion for no reason at all, you may already be receiving messages from someone who's no longer in this world, but never truly left you. Death may change the form of a relationship, but it doesn't destroy it. Love doesn't vanish when the heartbeat stops. In fact, when someone you deeply love passes, the bond between you becomes something sacred, something cosmic. You may have thought it was your imagination, that whisper you heard when you were about to make a major decision, that inexplicable feeling that you weren't alone during your hardest moments. Or maybe the strange dream that felt more real than waking life. These aren't random. These are signs. Signs that you're being protected, guided, and watched over. You're here now for a reason, because deep down you already suspect the truth, that the love you lost still walks beside you. And you're ready to understand how they speak to you even now, maybe especially now. The mystic Edgar Cayce once said, "Thoughts are things, and they have the power to move the very soul." He believed that when a soul leaves the physical body, it doesn't disappear, it shifts, it evolves, and it becomes something even more connected, more present in spirit than it ever could have been in flesh. The truth is, you've already felt it. There are moments you've looked up, without knowing why, moments you've paused mid-thought, as if someone else was thinking through you. That's not just memory, that's presence. That's guardianship. Right now, you might be carrying the weight of a goodbye that never felt finished, a lingering ache that no words could soothe. But what if that goodbye wasn't final? What if you were never meant to let go, only to learn how to hold differently? Spiritual protectors don't come with warning signs or introductions. They arrive through the quiet, through synchronicities, through the flicker of a candle or the scent of their cologne that suddenly wraps around you on a breeze with no source. They reach through dimensions not to haunt, but to help, and you don't need special abilities to notice. You only need to pay attention to the ways love continues speaking. Maybe it's the dream where they appeared, not sick, not tired, not lost, but glowing, vivid, more real than you've seen them in years. That wasn't just your mind processing grief. That was a visitation, a soul-level connection that stepped through while your conscious mind slept, a meeting between veils. Or maybe it's in the song that plays on the radio right when you're thinking about them, the one they used to sing in the car, the one that meant everything. You might say it's just coincidence, but is it? Or is it perfectly placed guidance, timed with precision from beyond? Edgar Cayce believed that those who pass often linger to help complete soul contracts, to support loved ones still on earth, and to deliver nudges from the divine, not because they're stuck, but because they're committed to you. And sometimes their protection is quiet, a delay that saves you from an accident, a forgotten item that reroutes your entire day. You don't realize it in the moment, but later, something clicks. Something tells you were being steered. Other times their presence is more tangible, a sudden cold spot in the room, goosebumps rising without warning, the feeling of a hand on your shoulder when no one's there. These aren't just sensations, they're energy patterns, the vibrational residue of a soul making contact. Science won't always explain it, but your heart already knows, the same way your phone picks up Wi-Fi signals through invisible frequencies. Your spirit picks up on energy, on essence, on love. That connection you feel in moments of silence, when your body relaxes, when your mind stops racing, when time slows. That's not a memory, that's a meeting. And the more open you become, the more these signs increase. Because love is not limited to one realm. It doesn't recognize death as final, it transforms itself. It finds ways to reach you, guide you, and even intervene when you're too overwhelmed to ask for help. It's why sometimes, when you cry alone in the dark, you feel warmth wrap around you. It's why, in moments of danger, you felt calm, as if someone invisible was holding your fear for you. It's why a voice inside you has said, everything will be okay. And somehow, as you believed it, because it wasn't just a voice inside you, it was someone beside you. And sometimes it's not a sensation at all, sometimes it's objects moving, keys showing up in odd places, lights flickering, phones ringing with no caller. These aren't ghost stories, they're soul signals, manifestations of presence, filtered through the physical world. Because when a loved one passes, they learn how to bend light, how to manipulate energy, not to scare you, but to say, I'm still here. And even if you're skeptical, even if you doubt, even if you've pushed the idea aside, they still come. Not because you believe, but because you need them. And in your deepest need, in the moment when you finally whisper their name, they hear you, always. So, the question isn't whether they're with you, the question is, are you ready to start loving them? And they never stopped loving them, and they never stopped loving you. That bond didn't shatter when the body passed, it simply changed frequency. What once was a voice you could hear became a vibration you can feel. What once was a hand you could hold became a warmth in your chest, a knowing in your spirit. The connection never died, because it was never physical to begin with. It was, and still is, soul deep. Edgar Cayce described it as the spiritual blueprint. He believed that every soul belongs to a group, a sacred family that extends beyond lifetimes. These aren't just people who come and go from your life. They're the ones who echo through your dreams, the ones whose names bring both a smile and a tear, the ones who feel like home. And when one of them passes on, they don't disappear. They ascend into a different role. They become guides, guardians, sometimes even messengers between you and the divine, not out of duty, but out of devotion, out of love. You may not be able to call their phone anymore, but you can still reach them. In fact, you've probably already done it without realizing. In moments when you were at your lowest, when you whispered, I wish you were here, when you clutched their photo and your heart shattered again, when you sat in the car alone and asked for a sign, and something subtle, something inexplicable happened. Maybe the sky shifted, maybe a song started playing, maybe you felt warmth where there should have been only cold. These are not accidents. You see, the soul doesn't obey the same rules as the body. It doesn't need proximity to feel you. It doesn't need language to speak to you. All it needs is love. Your love acts like a beacon, a light in the dark, reaching across time and space, calling them closer. And they answer, not always loudly, but always clearly, if you learn how to listen with your heart. The science of it may be elusive, but the energy is real. Everything in this universe is vibration. Everything has a frequency. And when your emotions are strong, when your thoughts are focused, when your heart is open, you emit a frequency that becomes undeniable. Your longing becomes a signal, your love becomes a path, and they walk that path to reach you. There are moments when you feel them most, but often dismiss them. When your mind quiets just before sleep. When you're staring out the window, lost in thought. When you're washing the dishes and suddenly feel like someone's standing behind you. Or when you get that tightness in your chest, not from pain, but from presence. They're with you. You didn't imagine it. You didn't make it up. You felt what's real, just not in the way the world defines real. Right now, I want you to do something with me. Close your eyes. Not to block out the world, but to open a different one. Take a breath in, let it out slowly. Now, picture them, not how they looked when they left, but how they were at their brightest. That smile, that laugh, that moment they held you and made everything okay. See it, feel it, let the memory wash over you like a warm wave. Now breathe into it, deeper, slower. Feel your heart swell with that memory. That is not just a memory, that's a portal. Because when you feel love that strongly, your energy reaches theirs. In the unseen world, your vibration just touched their vibration. That's what Cayce meant when he said, the soul meets the soul where there is harmony, and harmony is built on love. They feel it when you remember them. They draw near when you call out their name, even silently. And when you sit in stillness, wrapped in memory, they are sitting right beside you. Even if you can't hear words, even if you can't see a face, their presence brings signs, a sense of peace, an emotional release, a sudden goosebump across your skin, a chill on your neck that disappears as quickly as it came. They don't need to knock on doors or appear in mirrors. They're far more subtle and far more powerful. Because true spiritual guardianship isn't about spectacle. It's about synchronization. It's about the moment you almost dropped to your knees in grief and something lifted you instead. It's about the time you looked at their photo and for just a second you smiled through tears, as if they were smiling back. That's not wishful thinking. That's a bond alive and well, just in a dimension your eyes can't see, but your soul knows by heart. And the more you acknowledge it, the stronger it becomes. Casey taught that when the living speak to the departed with love, gratitude and openness, the veil between worlds thins. Not to invite spirits in, but to align souls across planes. He called this harmonic vibration, the resonance of shared spiritual intention. And you, right now, are the tuning fork. When you remember them with love, you invite them to meet you in love. When you honor their name, you activate the lineage of your soul family. And when you let go of disbelief, just enough to believe that maybe, just maybe, they never really left, something miraculous begins to happen. You start seeing the signs, more songs, more dreams, more whispers in stillness, more light where there used to be only shadows. This is what the invisible thread is, not a rope pulling you backward, but a golden line stretching across lifetimes, stitching your soul to theirs in a pattern so sacred even death cannot unravel it. And you'll know it's real not because someone told you, but because your heart will recognize the feeling. The peace, the warmth, the sudden burst of love that brings tears out of nowhere. That's not grief resurfacing. That's them. They're saying, I'm with you. You're doing better than you think. I never stopped loving you. And now you're beginning to feel that again. Have you ever woken up from a dream that felt more like a reunion than a memory? Where they were standing there, clear, vivid, alive, not sick, not aging, but radiant. And the moment you opened your eyes, your heart ached, not because it was just a dream, but because it felt too real to be just that. That wasn't your imagination, that was them. Visitation dreams are one of the most profound, tender ways your loved one reaches out. It's not just your subconscious processing grief. It's their souls stepping into your dream space, because that's when your walls are down. That's when you're finally quiet enough to hear them. In everyday life, your mind is filled with noise, bills, routines, screens, schedules. But when you sleep, you return to the most receptive version of yourself. Your logical brain quiets, your energy softens, and your spirit opens like a flower unfolding in moonlight. And in that sacred openness, your departed loved one can step in, not as a shadow or symbol, but as themselves. Whole, aware, and brimming with the love they couldn't always express in life. Now, here's how you know the difference between a regular dream and a soul visitation. In a regular dream, things are jumbled, emotions are scattered, the story is strange, maybe even chaotic. You might remember fragments, but it fades quickly. But a visitation dream, it lands differently. The memory is vivid. You remember what they wore, you remember the exact sound of their voice, you feel the temperature of the air, the light in the room. There's clarity, coherence, presence, and most of all, peace. You don't wake up confused, you wake up knowing you might cry, but it's not despair, it's awe. Because something sacred just happened, you saw them again, you felt their energy, and deep inside, you knew it was real. Edgar Cayce spoke often about the dream state as a channel between dimensions. He called it the bridge of the soul, a place where spirit speaks without the distortion of the physical world, and in that space those who have passed can step forward. If the soul is open to receive, And make no mistake, your soul knows. Even when your conscious mind doubts, even when grief clouds your days, the deeper part of you remembers that nothing truly ends. It just changes form. So when they appear in your dreams, they're not coming to haunt you. They're coming to remind you. They're still near. They haven't missed your birthdays. They've watched you grow. They've heard every word you whispered into your pillow when no one else was around. In these dreams, they often say very little, but what they do say carries deep meaning. Maybe they say, "I'm okay." Maybe they say, "I never left." Or maybe they say nothing at all and just hold you. And somehow you feel lighter, healed, remembered. That's not your mind filling in blanks. That's your soul receiving exactly what it needed, and when it happens, don't rush past it. Don't say, "It was just a dream," because it wasn't. Take a breath, sit with it, write it down. Start keeping a dream journal by your bed. You don't need to understand it right away. Just record it. Every detail you remember, their clothes, the setting, the words they spoke, how you felt. Because what you're doing isn't just remembering. You're creating a record of the sacred. You're training your spirit to say, "I am ready to receive more." And the more you acknowledge these encounters, the more they come. You might notice a pattern. They appear when you're struggling, or right after a major life change, or on the anniversary of their passing. These are not coincidences. These are check-ins. Spiritual wellness visits from someone who still loves you enough to make the journey. And here's something even more profound. Sometimes they bring someone else with them. A relative you never met, a soul animal, a child you lost. These companions often appear when your spirit needs layered healing, not just comfort, but deep spiritual remembrance. They may speak in symbols, a rose handed to you, a door you're shown, a place they lead you to. These aren't random, these are messages, layers of meaning that your soul will begin to decode over time. So don't rush the understanding. Let the message unfold in your waking life. Because every time you allow their presence in your dreams, you reinforce the connection. You become more attuned to their frequency, and they begin to reach you not only in sleep, but in waking moments too. A sudden breeze on your cheek, a line from that dream repeating itself when you need it most, the same scent from the dream suddenly filling the room. That's confirmation. That's love, layered through time, reaching you again and again. You might worry that if you speak of these dreams, people will think you're imagining things, but don't let that stop you. Visitation dreams are ancient. Cultures across time, from the Egyptians to the indigenous to modern mystics, have honored the dream realm as sacred ground, as a place where the living and the departed continue their relationship in a new form. So speak about it, honor it, thank them for coming. You don't need a ritual or a candle, just whisper, "Thank you, I felt you." That acknowledgement opens the channel wider. Because here's the truth. They miss you too. And when they visit your dreams, it's not just to check in. It's to remind you. The love between you was never a moment in time. It's eternal. It's still unfolding. And it's reaching you, one dream at a time. Have you ever felt a sudden chill run down your spine, even when the room was warm, or a warmth wrap around you like a blanket, just when you needed comfort the most? Maybe it was pressure on your shoulder, as if someone placed a hand there. No one around, nothing visible, but the sensation so clear it made you pause. That wasn't your nerves. That wasn't the house settling. That was them. Physical sensations are one of the most direct ways a loved one lets you know they're near. Not with words, not with signs, but with feeling, with energy. Edgar Cayce called it vibrational contact. He believed that every soul, when released from the body, still carries a unique vibrational frequency. And when that soul desires to reach you, to comfort, to reassure, to guide, it doesn't need to speak. It simply tunes in to your energetic field and leaves a trace, a spiritual fingerprint, gently imprinted onto your body's awareness. Think about it. You're made of energy. Your body may seem solid, but every atom in you is vibrating, and emotions, especially grief, love, longing, make that vibration more sensitive, more open. So, when you're missing them, when you're crying quietly in your car, or lying in bed staring at the ceiling, or folding that old shirt just to feel close again, that's when they come. Because in those moments your heart becomes a tuning fork, and their energy, wherever it is, responds. Maybe it's a breeze that comes from nowhere. No fan, no open window, just a single, unmistakable breath of wind across your skin. Maybe it's that sudden shiver when you speak their name. Or maybe it's warmth. Not heat, not temperature, but warmth that feels like safety, like you're being held, not just remembered, but wrapped in something beyond comprehension. These aren't hallucinations, these aren't just physiological responses, these are real, intelligent forms of contact. And the more emotionally open you are in the moment, the more you can receive them. You don't have to force anything, you don't have to summon anyone. Just allow, just be present. And when the sensation comes, don't dismiss it. Instead, breathe into it. Because here's the beautiful thing about spirit touch. It respects your readiness. Your loved one doesn't want to frighten you. They don't want to overwhelm you. So their presence comes through gently, in quiet moments, and through sensations your body can understand. Edgar Cayce's readings often spoke of the energy body, what modern mystics call the auric field. He described it as a subtle layer around your physical self, like a halo of vibrating light. And it's this field that spirit interacts with first. They don't need to enter the body, they don't need to materialize in front of you, all they need to do is touch the field, and you feel it. It's why you might feel someone brushing past when no one's there, or a tingling sensation on your scalp, or an overwhelming feeling of comfort during prayer, meditation, or even deep sadness. They're with you. You just haven't always known how to notice. But now, you do. So the next time you feel that chill, or that warm pressure, or that goosebump rise for no physical reason, don't push it away, acknowledge it. In fact, speak to it. Say something like, I feel you, thank you for being here, or, if this is you, I'm open to feeling you more clearly. This doesn't just honor the moment, it deepens the connection. You're telling your body, your spirit, and their soul, I'm listening now. And that's when more will come. Because physical sensations are just the beginning. Once they know you're open to receiving, they'll send more warmth, more pressure, more subtle contact. Especially during moments when you're about to give up, or when you need guidance but feel lost. And here's something sacred to remember. They often come during moments of vulnerability, not to witness your pain but to absorb it. When you're grieving deeply and suddenly feel held, when you're about to break down and feel a hand on your back. That's not just comfort. That's spiritual transference. They are literally taking some of your heaviness and holding it for you. That's what love does, even beyond the veil. They don't need to rescue you, they just want to remind you. You're not alone. Cayce described this type of interaction as spiritual embrace, a moment when the soul in spirit reaches across dimensions, to momentarily coexist within the energy of the living. It's not permanent, it's not invasive, it's love, crystallized in a moment, delivered through the language of sensation. So how do you invite more of it? Simple. You create space. Find a moment each day, just a few minutes, to sit quietly, breathe deeply, and speak from your heart. Say their name, tell them how you feel, and then just feel. No expectations, no demands, just pure presence. The more you do this, the more your own frequency begins to harmonize with theirs. The veil thins, not through ritual, but through receptivity. And when it happens again, the chills, the warmth, the unseen touch, speak this affirmation: I welcome your love in any form. My heart is open, my spirit is listening. That single statement does more than invite contact. It affirms what's already true. You are not alone. You never were. And every time your body reacts without reason, your soul is receiving a message. I'm still here. Have you ever walked into a room and found something strange waiting for you? A coin right in the center of your path, a feather on your car seat, windows closed, a photo frame face down on the floor, even though no one was around to touch it. These are not accidents. These are messages. When a loved one passes, their ability to communicate doesn't end, it just changes form. And sometimes the most powerful signs are the ones you can touch, hold, or notice with your physical senses. Objects are often their way of saying, "I'm here, I'm watching, I'm still part of your world." And it's not random. These items, coins, feathers, rings, stones, keys, are often intentionally placed or moved. The spirit doesn't operate the same way we do, but they can work with energy, with magnetism, with light. They can nudge the physical world in small but meaningful ways. Edgar Cayce spoke of resonance anchoring, the idea that emotional and spiritual energy can leave imprints on objects, and that spirit can interact with physical matter when there's a strong emotional charge. In other words, the more love connected to an object, the easier it is for a spirit to work through it. So when you find that coin, ask yourself, was it something they used to do? Did they have a thing for pennies? Did you just ask for a sign that day? If you find a feather in a strange place, think back. Did you just speak to them out loud? Were you thinking about them moments before? These are not props from the universe. These are intentional markers, breadcrumbs. They're saying, keep going. I'm close. And sometimes it's not what shows up. It's what moves. Lights flickering right as you enter the room. A clock that suddenly stops ticking on the hour they passed. A book falling off the shelf for no reason, and it just happens to be the one they loved. There's something sacred about that level of detail. Something that speaks beyond logic. And maybe part of you wants to explain it away. It's just coincidence. Just the wind. Just faulty wiring. But the part of you that knows, the part that recognizes the uncanny perfection of timing, that part whispers something different. It says, that was for you, because they still want to be part of your world. And even without a body, they find ways. One woman shared that every time she visits her late husband's grave, a butterfly lands on the same corner of her car door. Not nearby, on the door itself. Same color, same time of day. She started noticing it only after speaking to him one afternoon and asking, "If you're still around, show me something gentle." Another man tells the story of how a wall clock in his kitchen stopped not once but twice on the anniversary of his mother's passing, and both times it froze at the very hour she died. When he changed the batteries and reset it, it worked again, until the same date came around the next year. These aren't ghost stories. They're love stories. And the objects? They're just carriers of presence. Because your loved one is still here, not haunting, not trapped, just present, aware, watching, and when they want to get your attention, they use what they can. Energy follows emotion, and that's why they often choose the small, symbolic things. Things that meant something to both of you. Things you'll notice. A piece of jewelry showing up in a spot you didn't put it. A keepsake that disappears only to reappear in a drawer you've already searched, or something as simple as a song lyric written on a piece of paper blowing toward you on the sidewalk, and that lyric happens to be the one they used to sing. These are not background noise. These are front-row messages. And when they happen, don't just shrug them off. Acknowledge them. Speak to them. You don't need to shout. A whisper is enough. Thank you. I see you. That acknowledgement creates a loop. It tells them their message was received. And in that confirmation, they know they can keep sending more. Because the more you see, the more you believe. And the more you believe, the more they can reach. You don't need to be psychic to notice these things. You only need to slow down and live with spiritual attention. Begin to see the world as layered, not just what's in front of you, but what's behind it, around it, within it. Because your loved one may not be visible to the eye, but they are not gone. And the object they moved, the one you're still wondering about, It was never just about the object. It was about you, about your faith, about your willingness to receive a message not with proof but with presence. So when the frame falls, when the candle flickers, when the coin glints in the sunlight exactly where you'd never place it, take a breath, smile, and know in your bones, someone just said hello. Have you ever had an animal cross your path in a way that felt intentional? Maybe it was a bird that landed unusually close, locking eyes with you for just a moment too long. A butterfly that circled you 3 times and then disappeared. A dog that stared into what seemed like nothing. Or everything. Sometimes the message doesn't come in words. It comes on wings, on paws, in fur or feathers, or glowing eyes in the night. And if you've been paying attention, you might already know. The animals around you aren't always acting alone. Because when a loved one passes, one of the gentlest ways they send their presence is through animals, messengers of the in-between. These aren't just creatures wandering by, these are signals. They're spirit-aligned emissaries, drawn into your space by intention, by frequency, by love. Sometimes your loved one sends them, other times they ride along in them, not possessing but blending their energy into something this world still understands. Edgar Cayce believed that all life vibrates, and that animals, being pure and energetically sensitive, are uniquely suited to pick up and deliver spiritual messages. He spoke of animal consciousness as a bridge between planes, instinctive, alert, unfiltered by human doubt. In other words, animals don't need to believe to feel. They just know. So when that bird taps on your window right after you said their name out loud, don't ignore it. When the cat suddenly stares into the corner of the room where you keep their photo, pause. When the same type of butterfly follows you on 3 different days or lands near your hand as you cry, don't brush it off. That's not random nature, that's sacred design. Your loved one may not be able to hold you the way they used to, but they can send you something that touches the world gently, something that doesn't startle you, something beautiful, living, curious, kind. A hummingbird darting by your ear when you're deep in thought. A fox crossing your path, staring before it vanishes into the trees. A dog that sits at your feet at the park and refuses to leave, like it knows you. They may not speak in human language, but their timing is everything. And the energy they carry, you'll feel it in your skin, in your heart, in the hairs standing up on your arms. That subtle, quiet knowing, this moment means more than it seems. Sometimes it's an animal that reminds you of them. Maybe your brother always loved owls and now you keep seeing them everywhere, even in places they don't belong. Maybe your grandmother adored red cardinals and now one lands on your fence every morning at the same time. These patterns are not accidental, they're placed, chosen, whispered into the natural world. They find what you'll notice, what will make you stop and remember. And sometimes it's not even what you see, it's how the animal behaves. A bird circling you 3 times. A deer standing still as you walk by, unafraid. A pet that starts acting strange, barking into the dark or curling up in the spot where your loved one used to sit. Because pets feel it too. They don't question the unseen. They trust it. They are some of the purest energy receptors on earth. And when your energy shifts because someone you miss is nearby, they notice, sometimes before you do. There's a reason dogs howl at night, why cats stare into corners, why a horse will suddenly freeze and turn toward nothing. It's not nothing. It's presence. It's spirit brushing the edge of the physical world and being noticed. And here's the beautiful part. The more you acknowledge these encounters, the more they happen. Because love responds to love. When you say, "Was that you?" and your heart swells, they hear that. When you smile through tears and whisper thank you to the butterfly, they feel that. And your gratitude becomes an invitation for more. So don't wait for proof. Let the presence be enough. You can even make it a practice. In moments of stillness, ask them, if you're near, send me an animal, show me something living, something unexpected, something only I would understand. Then release it. Don't search, just live, and you'll know when it happens. Because something inside you will stop, your breath will catch, your eyes will widen, not out of fear, but recognition. And if it happens more than once? If the same animal appears again and again, especially when you're in need, that's a pattern. That's a message. That's love in motion. Casey once said that all beings in nature can serve divine intelligence when aligned through intention. So when spirit seeks to reach you, it uses what you already trust, what you already find beauty in, what won't scare you, but will stir something ancient inside your soul. So honor the animal messengers. Whether it's a single moment with a wild creature, or a beloved pet who seems to look right through the veil, pay attention. They're not alone. Someone is walking with them, and in that moment, so are you. Birds, butterflies, cats, dogs, creatures of instinct, of movement, of silence, and sometimes of miracles. If you've noticed them acting strangely, you're not imagining it, because animals don't lie. They don't rationalize. They don't filter the world through doubt. They feel energy as it is. And when that energy carries the signature of someone you loved, they don't question it. They respond. There's a reason certain birds appear more than once after someone passes. A reason butterflies seem to follow you, not just float nearby. A reason your cat suddenly stares into the hallway for minutes at a time, like it's watching something you can't see. Or why a stray dog keeps showing up in the same spot every evening, waiting. These animals aren't just passing through. They're being guided. Or they're carrying something with them, a spirit imprint. A subtle form of communication that bypasses the brain and speaks directly to the soul. Edgar Cayce's readings often explored this kind of symbolism. He didn't see animals as random life forms, he saw them as reflections, as mirrors of spiritual truth. He believed that certain animals show up repeatedly because they carry a frequency aligned with a specific message, or person. For example, Cayce viewed birds, particularly doves and cardinals, as messengers of comfort and peace. They appear in times of sorrow, moments of change, or after prayer, to reassure, to gently say, "You're not alone." Butterflies in his teachings represented transformation, the presence of spirit moving gracefully through the veil, letting you know your loved one is not just at peace but thriving in their next form. Cats and dogs, especially those you've had close relationships with, often act as guardians, watchers. Their behavior can shift dramatically when spirit is near. A normally calm pet might become alert, pacing the room or staring at the corner where your loved one's chair used to be. Or they may grow unusually still, as if sitting in reverence. You may even notice that the animal seems to tune in when you're thinking or talking about the person you've lost. That's not random. That's resonance. Animals act as conduits. Spirit uses their purity, their absence of ego, to transmit energy in a form you can feel. And if the same animal shows up more than once, that's your sign, especially when it appears in significant ways, during moments of grief, decision, or celebration. Their repeated presence becomes a sacred thread, a confirmation that the relationship continues, just in a different form. You might start seeing the same kind of bird over and over again, in different cities, on different days, even on birthdays or anniversaries. Or perhaps you notice butterflies always appear right when you're speaking to them aloud. This is intentional placement, not from the animal, but from the spirit who guides them. When that happens, pause. Acknowledge the moment. Let your body feel it, not with fear, but with openness. You might say softly, "If this is you, thank you, I see the sign, I feel your love." That small act of recognition creates a ripple, a spiritual feedback loop, and that loop deepens the channel between you and the other side. Because here's the truth. Your loved one wants you to feel supported, protected, remembered, and they'll use whatever channels they can, including fur, feather, and wing. So if the animal seems out of place, If the moment seems too perfect, if your body reacts with awe, with stillness, with tears, don't look away. That's not coincidence. That's communion. That's someone you love saying hello again. How many times have you glanced at the clock and seen the same numbers over and over again? Maybe it's 11:11 or 3:33 or the exact time they passed. Maybe it's a birth date, theirs or yours, that keeps showing up on receipts, license plates, room numbers, or digital timestamps. And just when you think it's random, it happens again. This isn't coincidence. This is orchestration. This is synchronicity. One of the most awe-inspiring signs that your loved one is still reaching for you, shaping the current of time itself to let you know, I'm still here. Synchronicity isn't just a string of lucky moments. It's the intersection of divine timing and spiritual awareness. A moment where the universe stops acting random and starts speaking directly to you. You hear their favorite song not once, but 3 times in 1 week. You bump into someone who shares their exact name and they say something that answers a question you were silently asking. You open a book randomly and the line on the page hits so hard it feels like they wrote it just for you. These are not accidents. They're alignments. And the more you notice them, the more they appear. Because your attention is the portal, your belief, even just a flicker of it, is the key. Edgar Cayce taught that all souls are connected through the Akashic currents, the great river of consciousness that runs beneath time. He said that what we think of as past, present, and future are just layers of one great moment, and that spirit can bend these layers like light through water. So when you see the same number again and again, that's not just repetition, that's pattern recognition sent through the divine. When you think about them and the radio suddenly plays that one song, it's not chance. It's intentional timing, orchestrated through the fields of energy your loved one now inhabits. They're not limited by time the way we are. They don't need clocks or calendars. They move in waves. And when your emotional state aligns with their presence, when your vibration meets theirs, synchronicities begin to unfold like dominoes. It's why you might think of them, and then your phone buzzes with a message that feels like it's from them, even if it isn't. It's why, in the exact moment you need reassurance, something happens that breaks the silence. A chime, a breeze, a perfectly timed quote, a stranger's words that echo what they used to say. This is how spirit speaks. Not loudly, not with fire and thunder, but with precision, with grace. And what makes it so moving is that it's always personal. You know deep inside when something is meant just for you. The timing is too perfect, the meaning too intimate. It bypasses logic and goes straight into your heart. You don't even have to understand why the moment matters. You just know it does. And if you've experienced this before, the eerie timing, the impossible sequence, the unshakable knowing, then you already know. Someone is guiding the script behind the scenes. They may not be physically by your side, but they're still directing light into your world. And here's something extraordinary. Synchronicities often increase around life changes, moving to a new home, starting or ending a relationship, grieving, celebrating, choosing. It's in those liminal moments, when you're not who you used to be, but not yet who you're becoming, that they speak most clearly. Because your soul is cracked open, more receptive, more alive. And they step in not to interfere, but to guide, to say, I'm still part of your journey. You're not doing this alone. So what can you do when synchronicities start showing up? First, don't ignore them. Don't write them off. The moment you say, that's weird, pause and go deeper. Ask yourself, what was I just thinking about? What was I feeling? What question was sitting in my heart? And then thank the moment. Thank you for this, I'm listening. Gratitude doesn't just honor the sign, it magnetizes more of them. Because what you recognize, you multiply. What you acknowledge becomes the foundation for even greater communication. You can even keep a synchronicity journal. Every time something strange and beautiful aligns, write it down. Over time, a pattern may emerge, and through that pattern, a deeper message. Daisy believed that synchronicities were the soul's way of confirming its alignment with the divine path, that when they increase, it's a sign you are walking the road your soul agreed to before this lifetime. So when your loved one participates in that alignment, when they nudge the signs closer, when they help engineer the timing, it's not just for comfort, it's guidance, it's redirection. It's spiritual support disguised as coincidence. So the next time the numbers repeat, the song plays, the name shows up, the impossible becomes real. Close your eyes for a second, place your hand on your heart, and know they are near. And in this moment, this exact moment, they are smiling, saying, "Yes, that one was from me." Have you ever walked into a room and just felt something? Like the air changed, like you weren't alone anymore, even though no one else was there. Maybe it was a sudden warmth, a stillness, a shift so subtle yet undeniable that it stopped you in your tracks. You weren't imagining it, you felt them. This is one of the purest and most intimate forms of spiritual contact, the unmistakable sense that your loved one is near, not in memory, not in thought, but in presence. It may not come with words. It might not bring a vision, but your body knows, your spirit knows. And in that moment, the veil between worlds thins, just enough for your hearts to meet. So many people describe this, often in hushed voices, as if afraid to admit what they felt. But what they're saying is universal. I swear I could feel him standing behind me. It was her perfume, clear as day, just for a second, but I know it was her. I was washing dishes, crying, and it felt like someone touched my back, gently, like they used to. These aren't fantasies. These are visitations without form, and they often arrive during powerful emotional states, grief, surrender, prayer, or quiet gratitude. That's not by accident. Edgar Cayce said, "The emotions are the language of the soul. When your heart is fully open, whether from sorrow or love, it becomes a beacon, and in those moments, spirit responds. They come not to fix you, but to sit with you, to witness you, to hold space around you in the way only they know how. Sometimes it's in the form of a scent, the smell of your father's cologne, even though no one in your home wears it, a wisp of your mother's favorite flower, cutting through the air like it bloomed just for you, or the scent of cigar smoke in a car that's never seen one. Scent is one of the most potent memory triggers we have, and it's also one of the most powerful ways a spirit can signal their presence. Cayce believed that olfactory impressions, smells carried through time and memory, could be activated by energy patterns left in the ether. In simpler terms, they can imprint a smell onto the air, and you'll catch it when your heart is open. Other times, it's sound. The soft creak of the floorboards at the exact time they used to walk down the hall. A whisper of your name in the quiet hum of the night. Footsteps when no one's home. And a calm, not fear, that settles over you. These aren't sounds to be afraid of. They aren't intrusions. They're echoes of love trying to find its way back to you. You see, your energy field isn't just a shield. It's a receptor. And when your thoughts are soft, when your mind slows down, when your breath deepens, your sensitivity heightens, you begin to notice things others brush off. That sensation in your chest, that tingling at the base of your neck, the feeling that if you turned around you might see them. Sometimes you won't, but that doesn't mean they weren't there. Because presence isn't always about visibility, it's about resonance. Two energies vibrating close enough to recognize each other, that's what you're feeling. So now, let's go even deeper. Right now, if you're in a space where you can, sit or lie down, let your hands rest gently. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, and slowly let it out. Again, breathe in peace, and exhale any tension. Now imagine the room around you softening, the walls, the air, the very light itself, becoming fluid, gentle, like a dream. In this softened space, invite their presence. You don't have to say their name aloud. Just bring them into your heart. Picture their face. Feel their essence. Let your body remember their touch, their voice, the feeling they gave you when you were near them. Now, speak to them in your heart. If you are near, I welcome you, you are safe here. I miss you, I love you, and I'm open to feeling you close. Then, simply breathe. Stay in that space. You may feel warmth. You may feel pressure in your chest. Not heaviness, but presence. You may cry, or smile, or feel nothing but peace. That is all exactly right. Because what you've just done is open the door, and sometimes they were already standing just outside. When you feel their presence this clearly, honor it. Say thank you. Whisper back. Light a candle if you like, or just sit in stillness for a few minutes longer. The more you welcome these moments, the more they return. Your loved one is not gone. They're just lighter, softer, and their way of loving you now is through energy, through awareness, through those seconds of stillness where you feel them like they never left. Because in truth, they never did. They're still with you. Not every second, not always, but when it matters most. And when you feel that shift in the room, when your breath catches, when your heart whispers, "You're here," before your mind can explain it, believe it. Because that's not memory, that's presence, and it's one of the greatest gifts love can give, even after death. Have you ever noticed the lights flicker for no reason? Your phone screen glitching, your computer freezing, just as you're thinking of them? Maybe your TV turns on with no remote in sight, or your favorite song, the song, suddenly plays through a speaker that wasn't even powered on. When spirit wants to make contact, and you aren't quiet enough to hear, sometimes they speak through electricity, orbs of light in photos, devices acting strangely, radios skipping to strange stations, Wi-Fi flickering just long enough to get your attention. At first you think it's just faulty wiring, a coincidence, maybe a power surge. But then it happens again, and again, and again, always tied to a thought, a memory, a feeling. This is not technology malfunctioning. It's technology reacting to presence. Edgar Cayce believed that the spirit world operates at a frequency far more subtle than our own, but that it can and often does interface with the physical realm through electromagnetic energy. In simpler terms, spirit uses light, sound, and electricity to get your attention, because that's what your modern world responds to. And when you're distracted, busy, disconnected, these subtle anomalies become louder, not to scare you, but to gently and sometimes playfully say, "I'm still around." You've probably heard of orbs, those soft balls of light that show up in photos. Maybe you've caught one hovering over someone's shoulder or floating through a room that should have been still. They can be round, glowing, and sometimes even carry a faint hue, blue, gold, white. Skeptics will call them dust, light reflection, lens flare. But if you've ever looked at a photo and felt something in your chest, a knowing, a pulse of love, a sudden tear rising from nowhere, then you already know what that orb truly was. It was presence. And those flickers you've seen, the lights that blink just once when you speak to them aloud, are not glitches, they're nudges. A dimming bulb that brightens again the moment you mention their name. A candle that crackles suddenly, then calms, like it's breathing with you. A phone that vibrates, with no message, no alert, nothing visible except your heart racing, as if something was just received anyway. This isn't the paranormal, this is personal. And the energy? It's intelligent. Cayce explained that spirit, when desiring to communicate, must align itself with the vibrational patterns of the material world. Technology, especially anything that transmits energy, becomes a bridge. So when they pass near or wish to be felt, your electrical environment responds. Some spirits love this, especially those who had a playful side in life. They'll blink the lights when you laugh. They'll skip the song when you're being too serious. They'll send messages in the one way you'll notice in a busy, noisy world, through your devices. But here's something important to remember. Just because they can use these tools doesn't mean they always should. And you have a say. If the lights are flickering too often, if the electronics are reacting so frequently that it's overwhelming, if you start feeling uneasy, that's your cue to set a boundary. Not in fear, but in love. Just as in life, relationships with spirit are based on respect, so speak to them, out loud or in your heart. Thank you for the signs. I know you're near. But please, only send them when I'm ready. Only when it brings peace. Spirits honor sincerity, and when you speak clearly, they listen. Boundaries don't close the connection, they refine it. They help spirit find better, calmer ways to reach you. And if you want to invite this kind of communication more consciously, you can. Create a space, a small corner of your room or your heart. Place a photo, a candle, or something that belonged to them. Speak their name, ask for signs, let them know you're open. Then pay attention. Does your phone light up right after? Does the candle flicker when you ask a question? Does your smart speaker unprompted say something strangely relevant? These aren't intrusions, they're interactions, but only if you're ready for them. Remember, spiritual contact isn't about fear, it's about love, choosing unusual channels. Technology may not have a soul, but it carries energy, and when you miss someone deeply enough, your longing becomes strong enough to bend that energy. So the next time the light blinks, ask yourself, what was I thinking about? What was I feeling? Who came to mind? And what might they be trying to say? You don't need to be an expert in spirit photography or electromagnetic fields to know what's real. You only need to trust that love finds a way. Always. Sometimes through a dream, sometimes through a feather, and sometimes through a tiny flicker in the dark. A moment so small you almost missed it, but your soul didn't. Your soul knew. They were saying hello. Have you ever heard their voice, not out loud, but inside your mind so clearly it stopped you? Maybe it was a whisper at the edge of a thought, a sentence that came to you when you needed it most. Words only they would say, their tone, their rhythm, their essence. Unmistakable. And maybe for a moment you wondered, was that just my imagination? But deep down you knew. It was them. One of the most subtle yet powerful ways a loved one continues to communicate is through your own inner voice. Not the voice of memory, but a living presence. One that emerges in moments of crisis, clarity, or quiet. Not as an echo from the past, but as guidance from beyond. This isn't just psychological coping, it's not always your subconscious filling in gaps. Sometimes it's soul-to-soul communication, what mystics call clairaudience, clear hearing, and Edgar Cayce, in his trances, spoke often about this. He described a form of spiritual telepathy, where souls remain connected across dimensions and can transmit thoughts, impressions, and even words, directly into your awareness, when your heart is open. He believed that thought itself is an energy form, and that love empowers that energy to travel beyond space and time. So, when you're thinking about them, missing them, crying out for help, their soul may respond not with a sign, but with a sentence. You're going to be okay. Don't go there. Try again tomorrow. Short, simple, but profoundly accurate for the moment you're in. The difference between this and memory is emotional immediacy. When it's just a recollection, the thought feels like the past. But when they truly speak, it feels like now. Like they're sitting beside you. And sometimes it's not even in words. It's an impression, a knowing, a pressure in your chest right before you make a decision, or a sudden sense of peace. Like someone just placed their hand on your shoulder, gently redirecting you. They're not trying to control you, they're trying to reach you. To keep the conversation going in the only way they can now, through your intuition. If you've ever been standing at a crossroads and suddenly heard them, crystal clear, saying something that shifted your entire path, You've already experienced it. It's real, and it's deeply personal. Sometimes you'll hear it during moments of vulnerability, when you're praying, meditating, or simply thinking, what would they say if they were here? And sometimes you don't ask. But the voice still comes, reassuring you, guiding you, nudging you back toward yourself. And yes, it may feel like you're making it up, but here's how you know it's not. The voice is loving, the message is grounded, and afterward, you feel lighter. That's spirit. Because fear masquerading as intuition makes you feel anxious. But true guidance from them brings clarity, stillness, warmth. You don't have to be psychic to receive this. You only have to trust the gentleman. Because they won't yell. They won't barge in. Their voice comes like mist, soft, barely there, but unmistakable once it touches you. So how can you invite it more? Simple. Begin talking to them again, aloud, in your heart, on paper, in prayer. Ask questions, share how you're feeling, then get quiet, just for a few minutes, and listen. Don't strain, don't force, just be, and let whatever comes, come. It may sound like your voice at first. That's okay. That's how it starts. But the words, they'll carry their love, their humor, their honesty, and eventually their presence. Over time, the line between your thoughts and their voice may soften. That's not confusion, that's union. It's your two souls remembering how to speak again, even without bodies. And if you're ever in doubt, just ask yourself, would I have said that to myself? Or was that something only they would have said? If it carries peace, if it brings healing, if it gives you just enough strength to keep going, then listen, because in that quiet moment across the great mystery, someone who still loves you just spoke. You missed the bus. The light turned red just as you were about to cross. You dropped your keys, grumbled, ran back inside to grab them, only to find out later that something terrible happened at the exact place you would have been. Sometimes what feels like a frustrating inconvenience turns out to be divine protection. These moments, near misses, unexpected delays, sudden shifts in plans that keep you safe, aren't always just luck. They are signs of something or someone stepping in. And when it happens with no logical explanation, no reason you can find other than something told me to stop, it may not be something at all. It may be someone, a loved one, watching from beyond, still caring for you, still shielding you, still stepping in when you need it most. Not with a body, but with intention, with presence. With love so strong it reaches across dimensions to protect your path. People often say, it felt like someone was watching over me. They're right. That someone may have been the same person you still cry for, still speak to, still feel at night when the world goes quiet. Edgar Cayce spoke about this as karmic extension, the idea that your life's timeline isn't fixed, but flexible, and that divine intelligence, including the souls of loved ones, can step in to redirect you, to delay you, to guide you toward a longer thread. He believed that when a soul has a strong bond with another, and especially if there is unfinished love, the kind that transcends death, that soul may be allowed to intervene, especially in moments of danger or decision. And these interventions, they don't always feel miraculous in the moment. Sometimes they look like spilled coffee, or a flat tire, or a last-minute change of plan. But then you hear the news, the car accident you avoided by minutes, the plane you were almost on that had mechanical issues, the fire alarm that got you out of the building early. And suddenly you feel it, that chill down your spine, that deep, undeniable knowing, that was them. Because protection from spirit doesn't have to be dramatic, it just has to be timely. And they're watching, not in every second, not as a shadow, but in the big moments, the ones that matter, the ones where your life forks into different timelines, and they nudge you toward the one where you keep going. Many people report feeling a hand pull them back, From the curb, from the door, from a decision they couldn't explain. Others describe hearing a voice shout, "Stop" or "Wait," inside their mind, just before impact. These stories are everywhere. Quiet miracles, lives rerouted, tragedies averted. And afterward, there's always the same feeling. That wasn't me. That was something else. Someone else. Casey described this as divine orchestration, a sacred agreement between souls, spirit, and the higher self, where if a soul is not meant to leave yet, help is permitted. And sometimes that help wears the face of someone you love. They may not move mountains, but they can move your feet. They can delay your exit. They can place obstacles in your way, not to frustrate, but to protect. So how do you know when it's more than just luck? Pay attention to what follows. Does the moment feel charged? Emotionally, spiritually? Do you feel unusually emotional afterward? Crying, sighing, or needing to sit down? Do you hear their name, smell their scent, see their birthday on a receipt or a license plate right after? These are confirming signs, layered symbols. Spirit doesn't just save you, they show you that they did, in case you're ready to notice. You might even hear their voice in your mind, "Not today," or feel a warmth in your chest, like they're hugging you from inside. And when that happens, don't just move on. Pause. Say thank you. I felt that. I'm listening. I'm grateful. Because that acknowledgement doesn't just honor the moment, it strengthens the channel. It tells them their love reached you, and that makes future guidance even easier. You don't have to live in fear, waiting for disaster. You don't need to constantly scan for signs. Just trust that if and when it's needed, they will act. They're not gone. They're transformed. And sometimes that transformation makes them even more powerful protectors than they were in life, because now they can see the road you can't, and sometimes they pull you from it just in time. You're going about your day, nothing major happening. Maybe you're making coffee, folding laundry, sitting in traffic, and suddenly it hits you. A wave of emotion, a lump in your throat, tears you can't explain. You weren't thinking of them. You weren't even feeling sad, but now your heart is wide open, raw, full, aching in a way that's hard to describe. It doesn't always come as grief. Sometimes it's love, a surge of warmth, of presence, of memory that isn't tied to any thought, yet feels more real than the moment you're in. This is not just emotion. This is visitation, because your emotional body is one of the most sensitive receivers you have. And when a spirit comes close, especially one you loved, your body knows before your mind can catch up. You may feel suddenly weepy and not know why. Or you might feel surrounded by peace, by comfort, by something like a silent hug. It's your soul responding to their energy, your spirit recognizing theirs, and it doesn't need a reason, because love doesn't operate on logic. This is why Casey often referred to emotion as the spiritual barometer of the soul. He believed that when we experience a wave of feeling not tied to our current thoughts, it's often because we're being touched, energetically, by something greater, a presence, a soul, an echo from the other side saying, "I'm near." These emotional waves are a kind of spiritual handshake, a moment of alignment between your heart and theirs. No words, just vibration. Sometimes they arrive when you're alone, in the shower, on a walk, in the stillness between tasks. And sometimes they hit you right in the middle of life, during a meeting, on a phone call, at the grocery store. You feel cracked open, not broken, just open. And the truth is, that's not something to run from, it's something to honor, because in that moment you're being invited into a deeper connection, not a memory but a meeting. Your emotional sensitivity is the space where their spirit says, "You're still mine. I still feel you." And yes, it can be overwhelming, especially when the wave hits hard. You may feel dizzy or fatigued, or like the room just tilted slightly. You might need to sit down, to breathe, to let the tears come. Don't resist it. Let the feeling move through. Emotion is energy in motion. And when it arrives without story, without a narrative, that's when it's most likely coming from spirit. They don't bring it to hurt you, they bring it to reach you. Because the deepest truths are often felt, not said. And here's the beautiful part. The more you allow it, the more your system learns how to handle it. Like tuning a radio, your body adjusts to the frequency. Over time, the waves don't hit as hard. Not because they're less real, but because you're more ready. So what can you do after one of these waves? First, ground yourself. Place your feet flat on the floor, feel the earth, breathe in slowly. 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. Touch something physical, a necklace, a chair, a tree. Anchor yourself back into the moment. Then acknowledge what just happened. You don't need proof, you only need presence. Say, thank you, I felt that, I know that was you. And if you need to cry, cry. If you need to smile, smile. If you need to just sit in silence, do that. Because emotion is not weakness, it's communication. It's the soul's way of telling you something just happened, something bigger than you. Casey taught that spirit often communicates through feeling first. That before we hear, see, or even sense, we feel. Because the heart is the oldest antenna. So if your chest suddenly aches for no reason, if you're flooded with love while driving, if you start crying as you fold the shirt they once wore, don't look away, look in. And know that someone, somewhere beyond the veil, just placed their hand on your heart and said, I never really left. Who were you just talking to, sweetheart? And your child looks up, calm, smiling. Grandpa. He says hi. But Grandpa passed away last year. You never showed your child the photo. You never spoke of him in that way. And yet, your child just described his hat, his laugh, even his favorite phrase. It sends chills through your spine, but something inside you knows it wasn't a coincidence. Children are often the first to notice when a spirit is near. They speak openly about seeing things, hearing voices, having invisible friends, and not out of imagination but out of sensitivity. They aren't yet bound by the rules of disbelief. Their perception hasn't been filtered. Their minds haven't closed the door. So when your child casually mentions talking to someone who's passed, pay attention, because they might be telling the truth in a way adults have forgotten how to. Edgar Cayce often emphasized that young children are naturally attuned to higher realms. He believed that before the age of 7, most children still retain what he called soul memory, a clear connection to the spiritual world they came from. That's why so many children speak of before I was born, or describe otherworldly experiences with clarity. They're not being fanciful, they're remembering. So when a child begins talking about a relative who's no longer living, when they describe things they could not possibly know, when they speak with love, ease, and familiarity about someone they've never met, you are witnessing a form of clairvoyance, clear seeing, and perhaps even mediumship. You might hear something like, Nana says, you don't have to cry so much, or Uncle Ray helped me find my toy, or the quiet whisper, she sits at the end of my bed at night. And instead of fear, you'll notice peace. Because children don't fear the presence of love, they recognize it instantly. So how can you engage with this gently? Don't push, don't interrogate. Let them speak freely in their own time. If they say something strange, ask softly, what did they say? Or, what do they look like? Then listen, not just to the words, but to the feeling behind them. Is it calm, joyful, playful? Playful? That's your clue. If they describe visuals, a light, a shimmer, a person in the corner, resist the urge to correct or explain it away. Instead, affirm that they are safe and that you believe them. Because the more you affirm, the more they'll share. And in that sharing you may discover messages meant not just for them, but for you. It's not uncommon for children to repeat sentences that only you and the departed would understand. A nickname, a private joke, a favorite memory, perfectly described. And when that happens, don't panic. Don't try to control it, just feel it. That spirit, reaching through the innocence of youth to remind you, I'm still connected. I'm still part of this family. Sometimes they show up just to comfort your child, to soothe their dreams, to watch over their sleep, to leave a little trail of love. Other times they show up to comfort you, through the words of a child too young to understand what they're carrying. Casey believed these children are sacred bridges, reminders of our natural connection to the unseen world. So if your little one ever says, "I'm not scared, Grandma is here," believe them, and maybe, for just a moment, let yourself feel it too, because through their eyes you might glimpse what your adult heart forgot, that love is still near, and it always finds a voice, even through the tiniest lips. You're walking through a parking lot, and something catches your eye. A penny. Face up. Perfectly placed where your next step would have landed. You pause, and suddenly you remember that was their thing. Pennies from heaven, they used to say. They laughed about it, maybe even promised they'd send one if they ever passed. And now here it is. It's not just a penny. It's a message. Feathers, coins, repeating numbers. These are some of the most common and deeply personal signs that someone on the other side is trying to reach you, not just with love, but with a sense of symbolic continuity, like an inside joke between souls that never really ended. This is more than superstition. These are spiritual breadcrumbs left where you'll find them just when you need them. And if it's their symbol, you'll know. Because your body reacts. You get that chill, that pause, that sudden stillness in the middle of a busy day. It's not the object itself, it's the timing. It's the way it lands, not just on the ground, but in your heart. Edgar Cayce believed that the soul's energy could move through material form, that spiritual beings could impress signs onto the physical world, especially when their love is strong and their intention is clear. He said that when you find objects that carry emotional charge, like coins, feathers, or even numbers, in synchronistic ways you are witnessing a soul reaching through vibration into matter. In other words, spirit is using the physical world as a canvas to draw their message. And what makes these signs so powerful is how personal they often are. It might be feathers, white, small, pristine, appearing on your windshield, on your pillow, in your shoe. It might be coins, always dimes, or always pennies, left where you couldn't miss them. Or numbers, their birthday, their favorite date, the time they passed. You might start seeing it on clocks, on receipts, on signs, again and again. Maybe you ask a question out loud, "Are you with me?" And moments later you see their number, right in front of you, no fanfare, no lightning bolts, just a quiet knowing. And that's the key. It doesn't shout. It whispers. These symbols arrive gently, like a hand placed on your shoulder, like a wink from the invisible. But when they come often, when they show up in the right places, when they feel like them, trust it, especially if it's a symbol they chose. Before they passed, did they ever say, "Look for me in butterflies," or "I'll send you feathers"? That promise becomes a portal. It sets the stage for spiritual communication to continue, because you already agreed to the sign. But even if no symbol was agreed upon, they can still send one. So how do you recognize your symbol? It'll be the thing that keeps showing up, the object that appears not just once but again and again, in ways you can't explain. You'll know it because it won't feel random, it'll feel placed, like someone arranged it there, just for you. And what should you do when you find it? Pick it up. Hold it. Feel the love inside it. You can say, "Thank you, I see you, I miss you." Some people keep a box, a memory altar for these objects. Others photograph them. Some just smile and carry on feeling stronger than they did a moment before. There's no wrong way to receive a sign, only a willingness to believe that love still speaks, that love still sends. And when it does, it speaks your language. Not grand, not loud, but unmistakably them.